Hey, Gator fans, just wanted to pop on here real quickly to talk about some updated coaching staff hires. The University of Florida has announced that Robert Bala will be joining Florida's coaching staff as the inside linebackers coach. He will also have that title of co-defensive coordinator. Okay, so first question I know all of us are thinking is, so is that three D coordinators we have now? And I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. Ron Roberts, although I'm pretty sure his title is actually head coach of the defense, so maybe he doesn't count as a coordinator. I don't know. Anyway, Vinny Sinceri was recently named the safeties coach and also has that co-defensive title. And now, of course, Robert Bala as well. Who cares if they all three have co-defensive coordinators, though? I'm sure that's something that Napier slapped on there because it's going to be great on the resume eventually. We talked about this with the Sinceri hire. I don't think Bala is going to be calling the defense any more than I think that Sinceri is going to be calling the defense, but I think that it's an enticing way to make hires, right? Guys want things that they can add to their resume. At this point in time in college football, we can add as many coaches to the staff as possible. So more eyes honestly is a good thing, right? More guys to catch mistakes in practice, to correct on the spot. All of those things lead to better teams, I think. Let's talk a little bit about Robert Bala, though. He worked as the linebackers coach at Washington last year under Jed Fish. Obviously, that's a name UF fans are familiar with. He has lots of Gator ties. Every time we have a coaching search discussion, his name has always surfaced, doing good things over at Washington and had a really good defense over there. So certainly not a staff I mind stealing from, right? He also worked under Nick Saban at Alabama. This is similar to Sinceri, who was a player and also on the staff at Alabama. And of course, Billy has his ties to Alabama. Nick Saban is a phenomenal coach. I think that guys that are from the Saban tree tend to be incredibly successful. I think that it means they have an insight into what it takes to run a championship caliber program, what it takes to get to the top. So I never mind when we make a hire that comes out of the Saban coaching tree. Listen, he was also a part of a defense at Liberty that was really great there as well. He also has NFL experience with the Raiders. And, even though Bala's pretty young, he's got a 15-year career in football. And Florida has a lot of talent to be developed in that linebacker room. So I think that this is a great pickup. Anytime you can specialize those rooms, I think you do. And like I said, we're in this point in college football where we can add as many people to the staff as we want to. And Coach Napier has made statements this week that lead me to believe that he will continue to make hires to the staff because with this rule change, you're allowed to. And as he said, why not? The more guys on the field coaching our players, finding mistakes, correcting them, the better this team is going to be in the long run. Let's talk for a second about that linebacker room. Miles Graham, Aaron Childs, of course, Pup Howard had such a great year. He transferred to Florida from South Carolina. This is an incredibly talented room. One of the rooms that I think that Florida fans will have the most confidence in going into the 2025 season. Something that I've been thinking about is where does this leave Ron Roberts? And, I joked at the beginning of this video about his, head coach of the defense title. That is his title, though. And I do think part of his role at UF is not only developing our players and really instilling a kind of a dog mentality. And I think you saw that grow in this defense over the course of last season. I also think he is kind of a coach of the coaches. And I know we roll our eyes about that statement, but I'll get right back to the video. But first, I appreciate BetUS for all their support. Just quickly, make sure you're betting with them and using their code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% signing bonus on your first deposit. You'll also get 125% on your next two deposits. All of that up to $2,000. With the Super Bowl coming up and a red hot Gator basketball team on weekly, make sure you're betting with BetUS. They've had some success with this. I think if you look at last year and Austin Armstrong, you look at Austin Armstrong on his own 2 years ago, and then you look at the difference that Ron Roberts made last year in this defense. I really do think he very much serves kind of a mentor role to some of these younger up and coming coaches who maybe do need a little bit of guidance, right? And I think if each of the positions on this defensive unit are able to have a coach that specializes on them, and then Ron Roberts is able to kind of walk around and monitor all of it, that is kind of a weight off of Billy Napier's shoulders, right? He is the head coach of this team. So at the end of the day, he's responsible for every single unit on this field on both sides of the ball. But if you have someone you trust as the head coach of the defense, that does free you up to spend a lot more time focusing on the offense, which obviously the offense is his baby. We know this because he's continuing to call plays into the 2025 season. So if that's not something he's going to give up, getting more coaches on the defensive side of the ball so that it's just not even something he has to even think about. It's such a well-oiled machine is not necessarily a bad way to go, and Ron Roberts made a very large difference. You saw it in action through the course of the season. We've heard players this offseason talk about what a difference he brought to this team, what a different intensity level he carries into those defensive meetings each and every week. And I don't hate the decision to kind of put him fully in charge of what's going on, not just of the players, but of the coaches too. Coach Napier may not be done making hires to this staff, though. He had this quote this week that said, I think we potentially here could hire another coach on defense, and kind of Ron can kind of walk around much like he did the last 2/3 of the year, if that makes sense. There's no limit to how many coaches you can have, right? So we have to offer as much expertise and detail and input feedback as possible for the players. He said this, the same day that we announced this Bala hiring. And I don't know that we are done adding to this staff because he's right. We can have a bajillion person staff that handles recruiting and all of those things, but this rule change makes it so that we can have all of those staff members on the field during practice. And that just is such a potential game changer if used in the right way. Florida also hired Ben Elsner today. He will be the second in command as the director of football strategy for UF. So who is that going to be under? Well, we don't know. We've heard some names. We've heard some rumors. Nothing has been official. It leads me to believe, though, because Ben Elsner's position was announced today, that an announcement is likely coming soon. And I'd imagine that Coach Napier already knows who that is as of now. On3 reported that Elsner is going to be in charge of managing the salary cap and constructing contracts along with the analytics and the AI metrics for all parts of the program. And this is just the way of the college football world these days. Everybody is hiring a general manager. Now, Florida already technically has the general manager title, but when we say general manager, we mean exactly what we're talking about in Ben Elsner's position here, the roster management. So this is going to be whoever comes in will be right in charge of Elsner, and that will be different than the role that UF has as a GM currently, which I think has more to do with kind of managing the current players more from an off the field stance, not from a contract stance. So this is what well put together programs are doing these days. Ohio State has this, Georgia has this, Alabama has this, and it's a smart move on Florida's part. Now, Elsner has NFL experience. He's got a lot of cap room experience, roster construction. He also is really well trained with AI and analytics and how to look at what's available, see where pieces fit, where. And that is an important part of Coach Napier's job at the moment. And it's huge if he's able to hand that off to somebody else that he trusts. Listen, we joke that Florida has the largest staff in college football, and it's just getting bigger. They're adding pieces. They're taking advantage of this new rule. And, while I may not always agree with having 3 people to hold your cup of coffee, as we like to joke, I think this is a really smart move for UF. I really think the more people with real football knowledge that you get on those practice fields, the quicker these players get developed, the faster that translates into wins on the field. And the easier it is to maintain your roster. If you've got a locker room full of players that feel like they're getting every moment out of practice and they are really getting better and getting developed, it's a heck of a lot easier to hold on to them, as everybody jumps in the portal these days. So I think this is important. I think it's smart. I think these are great hires. I'm interested to see who else Florida adds in the coming days and weeks because they are certainly not done expanding. I want to know what you guys think. Are these important roles? Are you glad that Florida's coaching staff is getting any larger? Or are you one of those people that is like, no, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing? There's too many cooks in the kitchen. I want to hear about it down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. As always, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys soon. Go Gators.